Some
Wait,
ideas.
no, wait. I want to talk about one thing really quick. Let's talk about money stuff.
Okay.
Because I told Dharmesh I was going to ask him this. So first of all, is it weird that I know what your net worth is today because it's like public information?
It's not weird for me, honestly. Like I'm generally like transparent. I believe in kind of the openness of the web. And I'm since it's a publicly traded company, like that's, would I want my like bank accounts and all my accounts kind of published on the web? No. But the fact that I'm an executive in a publicly traded company and most of my net worth is in the form of shares, which you can take the number of shares which is on the public record and multiply it by the current price and get, which is probably roughly 85-90% of my overall net worth, because that's where all my money is in HubSpot shares. I don't find that weird. Yeah.
Has your life changed as this has like accumulated and things got different, or has it basically? So you had another company before this. How much did you sell that for?
10 or 15 in that range, based on how you count it.
And has your life changed since that moment significantly? Because that's a significant number in itself, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's and I'd like to say I wasn't focused on money, or I'm not focused on. At the time when I was younger, I was very, very focused on money, and I had very kind of modest upbringing. And I was like, okay, well, it wasn't like the money and the accumulation of it; it was the freedom. Ever since I was little, I always want to kind of configure the universe to my liking, so to speak, because I've got my quirks. So like these are things, the way I like to do things. And having to kind of work in a normal kind of classic job doesn't give you a whole lot of control over you're a part of the universe. You don't get to control who you work with all that much or who you hire. You don't have a lot of degrees of freedom. So I'd been thinking back, and then I had kind of thought about money, and like the first, I'll say 5 million or so had a dramatic impact on my life, right? Because that buys you an inordinate amount of freedom, right? You don't have to work again. You can invest in things. You can do as long as you're not out, buying small islands and overtaking countries. I mean, that's a decent amount of money for folks, right? And then after that, and there are other kind of, I don't know exactly what the demarcations are, where more money adds on a marginal basis, a little bit more freedom. You can do more things, but like the kinds of things I do, like I enjoy food in restaurants. There's only so much you can actually spend as a reasonable human being, even if you like the finer things. It's like, okay, well, unless you're trying to make a statement and spend 100 times what the average of a whatever X is, it's kind of hard to spend money really well, even if you have kind of high-end taste, honestly. Yeah.
The most common thing I've heard, I don't know if you would agree or disagree, is like there's these levels. So it's like first when you're in debt to no debt, that's like the first jump where, freedom, got this weight off my shoulders. Yep. Then there's kind of like, what I'll call the 0 to 1 million, where it's like, oh my God, mentally I'm a millionaire. That's kind of just like a mentally freeing concept, an interesting concept. That's why we named the pod what we did. But also, that'll afford you a certain type of lifestyle. And then the next jump I've heard is like at 10 or 10-ish, where it's sort of like, okay, at 10-ish, you sort of, you don't have to work. Like at 1 million, you still got to work. At 10, you don't have to work. You can kind of like have a couple places to live. You could do whatever you want. You don't really need to check the prices when you go do things.
Yep.
And then there's sort of like 100 or more, which is sort of like, the ego gets involved. It's like, okay, now I'm keeping score against, in the business Olympics against these other folks. And also, I could do some like, I can buy an island. I can buy a piece of an NBA team. I can go do these different things that are like kind of like bucket list. And the joy, what I've heard is sort of like, for most people is sort of like the joy actually like de-escalates from the beginning there. Like getting out of debt is sort of like the most relief, most joy. And then sort of like it starts to diminish sort of step by step as you go. Like the 10 to 100 feels a lot less impactful and less sort of changes your joy and your mood than like going from 0 to 10.
Yep. Just two threads I want to pull on as long as we're talking about money. So one thing that's kind of helped me reconcile it in terms of having to be in the net worth now is the plan. My wife and I have talked about this. The plan is to donate 90+% of it, right? Like we have one child, we're not going to spoil him, so it's not like we're trying to build a multi-generational dynasty. That is not the goal. And so then, like if I make a really good return on a startup or something like that, it's like, okay, well, I'm
discount 90%.
I'm looking for my wife's foundation. That's essentially what it comes down to, right? So most 90% of whatever it is. I think it'll end up being higher because I just don't think we're capable of actually spending the money. But yeah,